I don't know where Aliyah Boston stands. I have no idea where Aliyah Boston stands, man. And I'm being honest, I don't like people where I don't know where you stand. I'm cool if you're on that side. I just want to know that side. If you're on this side, I just want to know that you are on this side. I don't know where the hell Aliyah Boston stands, y'all.
She still hasn't answered the question, and that silence is about to cost somebody a max contract.
Anything. So, Aliyah Boston here, calling Kelsey Mitchell the GOAT. Calling Kelsey Mitchell the GOAT. You play with the GOAT, Caitlin Clark. The same one that eliminated you when you was undefeated. The same one who took you and Kelsey Mitchell to the playoffs when y'all was terrible the year before. Kelsey Mitchell never been to the playoffs her whole life until Caitlin Clark popped up. That same Caitlin Clark. But you're calling Kelsey the GOAT.
Lisa Leslie went on record calling Kelsey Mitchell the greatest of all time on that roster, not Caitlin Clark. Let that sit for a second, because the timeline doesn't back it up. Kelsey Mitchell had never sniffed the playoffs in her entire career until Clark arrived. The same Caitlin Clark who dragged an undefeated Fever team into the postseason her rookie year got called a footnote by someone who's supposed to know basketball. This isn't a small take. This is the exact fault line running through the entire Indiana Fever front office right now, and it's about to force a decision nobody in that building wants to make.
The Indiana Fever have a major decision to make at the end of this season. They can't keep Kelsey and Caitlin. That whole 1 year deal thing they was able to do with Kelsey for the last 2 years, they can't do that anymore. It's over. You have to commit. And you got to commit big bucks, max dollars, long term. Caitlin is up for the epic. You can't afford to keep them both.
Here's the part that should actually bother you. And it's not the hot take about who's the GOAT. It's the calendar. The Fever have been running a patchwork deal for 2 seasons, paying Kelsey Mitchell short-term money, while Caitlin Clark's rookie contract does the heavy lifting on the cap. That workaround is expiring. Clark is up for a new deal. And by league rules, it's going to be a max, long-term commitment. Indiana cannot structure around 2 max players on a roster that's still building out a bench, so somewhere in the next few months, the Fever have to choose. Not manage, choose. And the analyst closest to the team won't say out loud which name they'd pick.
And then this was the 38th game in a row that she scored at least 10 points, passing a record from Tamika. So I guess especially just like the longevity, the continuity, what else can you say about her?
I mean, Kelsey's awesome. She shows up every single day and she gives us everything she has. And I think, just how long she's been wearing a Fever jersey, I mean, you can see it. She continues to show up.
Why do y'all keep talking about how long she wore a Fever jersey?
Watch how the argument shifts the second someone points out the stakes. Suddenly, it's not about production, it's about loyalty. She's been wearing the jersey a long time. That's the entire defense. Not assists, not efficiency, not two-way impact. Tenure. And the pushback in that clip is fair. For most of that tenure, the Fever were a bottom 5 franchise. Nobody was fighting to keep tickets for a team winning 6 games a year. The loyalty argument only became a talking point once the roster started winning, which tells you something about where that loyalty was actually earned.
I say, I don't know where you stand. You calling her the GOAT. She's this, she's that. She been here so long. All right. Well, let her stay there with you then. Tell them to trade Caitlin Clark, let her walk, and give Kelsey a max long-term to stay with you in Indiana. Do that. Do that. Since you seem unsure on where you stand.
So here's the challenge laid out on air, and it's a real one. If you can't say definitively that Caitlin Clark is the priority, then say the opposite out loud. Let Clark test the market. Give Kelsey Mitchell the max, long-term extension, and build the next 5 years around her. Nobody who's actually watched the numbers thinks that's the right basketball decision, but at least it would be an honest one. Right now, what the Fever have is a front office humming and hawing in public, while the 2 biggest contracts in franchise history sit unresolved. That's the setup. Now here's where it gets bigger than one roster, because the person who's supposed to be managing all of this from the league office has her own version of the exact same problem, refusing to commit to who the priority actually is.
Colin Cowherd went on to address Kathy Engelbert and the piss poor job she's doing. Look, people are calling for this lady's job again. Kathy Engelbert thought she was out of hot water. No, you're not. People are still calling for your job.
So the WNBA has stepped in it a lot, and a lot of people, myself included, have been critical. So Dan Patrick, you know Dan Patrick, he had scheduled his staff, good staff. They had scheduled Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the...
Kathy Engelbert thought she'd put the heat behind her. She hasn't. Colin Cowherd went on air and said flatly that people are calling for her job again. And it's not the first time this year that sentence has been said about a sitting WNBA commissioner. What triggered this particular round wasn't a policy decision. It was a scheduling problem. And normally that would be a footnote. It isn't, because of what allegedly happened next.
Excuse me? You had me and my staff waiting for 2 hours? Who the hell do you think you are? That's crazy. Kathy Engelbert, disrespectful. She not a leader. She don't know what she doing. She act like she had this league ill prepared for Caitlin Clark and the Caitlin Clark effect that was obviously coming. Fired. Get her up out of here. Get her.
According to Dan Patrick's account on his own show, his staff had booked Engelbert for a sit-down interview, and she never showed. Patrick says he and his team waited roughly 2 hours. Then, in Patrick's telling, someone spotted the commissioner about 100 yards away, playing golf, while his crew sat there holding a slot for her. That's Dan Patrick's version of events, delivered live and unedited. And it's the kind of detail that either gets denied on the record or it doesn't. As of this taping, it hasn't been denied.
That would add to it. So Dan Patrick went on the air, and he was very upset about it.
We're just trying to be a journalist here. That's all. We're just trying to ask questions. But don't say yes, and then all of a sudden somebody probably said, in my opinion, oh, maybe we shouldn't do this. Well, at some point, you have to do this. This is an important league. There's expansion. There's conversation. It's been agendaized. Everybody has something to say about it. Now you have a chance to answer these questions.
And notice what Patrick actually says in his defense of his own reaction. He's not claiming some gotcha agenda. He says point blank, "We're just trying to be journalists, asking questions, on a live 3-hour show with no copy editor and no tape delay. If you're frustrated, it comes out live, and that's just honest broadcasting. That's a mild ask." A booked interview, kept, yet the commissioner of a league in the middle of a 3-team expansion allegedly chose a golf course over it. If that's accurate, it's not a scheduling accident. It's a signal about what she considers worth her time.
Now, like, really think about it. When have you heard this about David Stern or Adam Silver or Roger Goodell? You only, this lady's the only one that runs around doing this stuff. She's the only commissioner that has not leaned into her biggest star. Adam Silver's leaning into Wemby and Shea Gilgeous and Ant-Man and all that. He leans into the stars. Roger Goodell leans in on Patrick Mahomes, leans in on Josh Allen. Like, they lean in on stars. This is the only commissioner that doesn't lean in on their biggest star.
Now here's the comparison that actually lands the point. Because it's not just the commissioner skipped an interview. It's who she's skipping interviews about. Adam Silver leans directly into his biggest stars. Victor Wembanyama, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards. He's front and center with all of them. Roger Goodell does the same with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Every commissioner in a major American league treats their biggest draw as the face of the product. Kathy Engelbert is the only one in that group who's built a reputation for doing the opposite, distancing herself from the single player responsible for the growth curve the entire league is riding on. That's not a scheduling quirk. That's a pattern. And patterns are what actually get commissioners removed.
Just don't do it. So it's interesting because I was watching the WNBA yesterday, and I thought about this yesterday. And I watched the WNBA game, and I got to tell you, the product, it was in Dallas. Very good TV, very good energy. And here's the thing, and I was thinking, why is the WNBA just keep stepping in it? I can keep bashing them, but why? And I came to the conclusion that there's all these leagues. They all have owners. They all have commissioners. They're all covered by the media. Since Caitlin Clark has arrived, the WNBA has exploded. They're now flying private. They've introduced 3.
Because here's the part that makes the whole story sting more. The product she keeps fumbling is genuinely working. Attendance is up across the league. Games are drawing crowds that didn't exist 3 years ago. There's a live conversation about expansion markets, new ownership groups, new media deals. Since Clark entered the league, the WNBA has added 3 franchises. The Golden State Valkyries, reportedly valued at close to $1 billion, the Portland Fire, and the Toronto Tempo, with Toronto reportedly drawing around 20,000 fans to a road game in Montreal. Private charter travel, which didn't exist a few years ago, is now standard for teams. None of that happens without a singular driver of attention, and everyone in the building knows exactly whose name that is.
Caitlin Clark is as well known as almost any hockey star. Maybe that's not even arguable. Maybe it's by a lot. She sells merchandise. She moves TV ratings. There's nobody in hockey doing that. And hockey's a legit sport, like it's one of the big 4. So you've got bigger arenas, bigger attendance, bigger revenue, different travel, superstar, massive media criticism.
And the numbers aren't just good relative to where the league used to be. They're good relative to leagues that have existed for a century. The claim on air was that the WNBA is now outdrawing the NHL in some ratings windows, and that Caitlin Clark's individual recognition rivals stars from a legacy sport with decades of infrastructure behind it. Hockey is one of the established major American leagues. For a 2-decade-old women's league to be trading blows with it in cultural relevance is not a small accomplishment. It's the kind of growth spike that should be a commissioner's dream, not a crisis she keeps stumbling into.
It's like any business listening, anybody listening to me that owns a business, is that part of the problem of hyper growth as a business, any business, is just getting your damn arms around it. And they have stepped in it so many times, and they beat hockey now, the NHL, in ratings.
So why does it keep going wrong? The most generous explanation, and it's a real one, is hypergrowth itself. Any business owner will tell you the same story. Explosive growth breaks things that steady growth never would have exposed. New arenas, new travel logistics, new media obligations. A level of press scrutiny the league office has never had to manage before, all landing at once. That's a genuinely hard operational problem. It is not, however, an excuse for skipping a scheduled interview to play golf. Growing pains explain overwhelmed. They don't explain evasive.
They can't get their arms around it. Like, and if Gordon Ramsay opens a restaurant in London and it tanks, it makes the newspapers. It's talked about. If your buddy Joe opens a restaurant west side of Chicago and it tanks, nobody cares. That's the downside to popularity. It is a privilege to be criticized. It is a privilege to deal with pressure. And I'm just thinking about it.
And this is really the whole thing in one line. Attention is the price of relevance. If a small local restaurant has a bad night, nobody hears about it. If a globally famous chef opens a flop, it's in every paper the next morning. The WNBA wanted this level of attention. It fought for it for 2 decades. Now that it's arrived, the response from the top of the league office has been to duck the very scrutiny that comes standard with success this size. And that's the actual failure here, not the growth. The refusal to answer for it.
In there that can get their arms around it and fire Kathy Engelbert. Get down in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. This is Keep the Vision.
So put those 2 threads together. A franchise that won't say which superstar it's building around, and a commissioner who won't show up to answer for the league those superstars built. Both are the same failure dressed differently. An unwillingness to commit, in public, to the thing that's actually working. The Fever will have to make their call by the time Clark's next contract negotiation opens. And there's no version of that decision that stays quiet. The league office doesn't get that luxury either. Every dodged interview just adds another data point to a very short, very public list. So here's the real question for the comments. If you're the Fever's front office, and you can only keep one max contract, who gets it? And does Kathy Engelbert survive the season if this keeps happening? Drop your answer below, because I want to see where you actually stand, not where you're hoping this plays out. Like the video if you made it this far, Subscribe if you want the next update the moment either of these decisions breaks. And share this with somebody who still thinks this league is running smoothly behind the scenes. Keep the vision,